People often ask, what makes a woman truly unforgettable? What qualities make a man obsessed? Not just in a fleeting way, but deeply, profoundly captivated. And I don't mean obsessed in the superficial sense where attraction fades with time. I mean something that lingers, something that makes a man feel like he's found something rare, something worth holding on to. And so today I want to talk about the 8 key qualities that define such a woman. These aren't just traits that spark interest, they are qualities that keep a man's mind returning to her, even when she's not around. There is something undeniably compelling about a woman who refuses to wear a mask. In a world that constantly pressures people to conform, authenticity is a rare quality. Most people spend their lives adjusting their personalities based on what they believe others want to see. They mold themselves to fit expectations, suppressing their real opinions, emotions, and quirks in the fear that revealing too much will make them undesirable. But the opposite is true. A woman who embraces her true self is magnetic. Think about the most unforgettable people in your life. The ones who left an impact weren't those who blended into the crowd, trying to be what everyone else wanted them to be. They were the ones who were unapologetically themselves, real, raw, and unfiltered. The same applies to attraction. When a woman is confident in her identity, she creates an atmosphere of honesty and trust. A man doesn't have to guess what she's thinking or wonder if she's saying what she truly believes. He knows she is real, and that certainty is addictive. A woman who is authentic doesn't shape her personality around who she's with. She has opinions and isn't afraid to express them. She has preferences and stands by them, even if they don't align with popular trends. This doesn't mean being combative or refusing to adapt. It means having the courage to be honest, even when honesty makes her different. Authenticity also breeds confidence. A woman who is comfortable with herself doesn't need validation from others. She doesn't seek approval by altering her personality to fit what she assumes a man wants. And that confidence, that unshakable sense of self, draws people in. A man becomes intrigued because she is not easily influenced. She is her own person, independent of external pressures. When a woman lacks authenticity, it creates an invisible barrier between her and the man she's trying to connect with. He may not be able to articulate it, but something will feel off. Maybe it's the way her stories shift depending on the audience. Maybe it's the hesitation before she speaks, as if she's calculating the most socially acceptable response rather than speaking from the heart. Over time, this erodes trust. The most powerful kind of attraction isn't built on perfection, it's built on truth. A man doesn't become obsessed with a woman who presents a polished, edited version of herself. He becomes obsessed with the one who shows up as she is, flaws, strengths, and all, because deep down every man wants something real. Physical attraction might catch a man's attention, but intellectual depth is what keeps it. There is something incredibly alluring about a woman who can engage in deep, thought-provoking conversations. A man might be drawn to beauty initially, but if a woman lacks substance, the excitement fades quickly. On the other hand, when a woman has a mind that challenges him, intrigues him, and expands his perspective, he finds himself returning to her, craving more of what she has to offer. A woman with intellectual depth is curious about the world. She doesn't just accept things at face value. She questions, analyzes, and seeks to understand. She reads, she learns, she explores different viewpoints. This kind of mental sharpness is rare, and it creates a dynamic where a man feels both stimulated and understood. He doesn't just see her as a partner, he sees her as a force of inspiration. Conversations with her feel different. They aren't just about surface-level topics like the latest gossip or meaningless small talk. They have weight. They make him reflect, reconsider, and sometimes even challenge his own beliefs. This is the kind of woman who can listen to an idea, dissect it, and offer a fresh perspective, one that makes him pause and think in ways he never has before. This doesn't mean she has to be an academic or a philosopher. Intellectual depth isn't about memorizing facts or being well-versed in complex theories. It's about a mindset, a hunger for knowledge, a passion for understanding the world, and the ability to communicate ideas with clarity and insight. It's the kind of intelligence that makes a man feel like he's in the presence of someone remarkable. One of the most powerful aspects of intellectual depth is its ability to create emotional connection. When a man realizes that a woman truly understands him, not just on a surface level, but in a deep intellectual way, it forms a bond that goes beyond attraction. He doesn't just want to be around her. He feels like he needs to be around her. Because when he speaks, she listens, not just to respond, but to understand. And that kind of understanding is rare. Think about the relationships that last. They aren't built on physical attraction alone. They are built on mental compatibility. A couple that can challenge each other intellectually, engage in meaningful discussions, and learn from one another creates a bond that withstands time. A man doesn't just want a woman who agrees with everything he says. He wants one who can hold her own, who can introduce him to new ideas, who makes life more interesting simply by the way she thinks. A woman with intellectual depth also carries herself differently. She isn't easily swayed by trends or the opinions of others. She has a foundation of knowledge and experience that shapes her worldview. She can walk into a room and hold a conversation with anyone, not because she's trying to impress, but because she has genuine curiosity and insight. This kind of presence is impossible to ignore. It keeps a man intrigued, makes him crave her presence, and leaves him thinking about her long after she's gone. Because in a world where so many interactions feel shallow, a woman who can engage a man's mind stands out as unforgettable. There is a distinct energy in a woman who fully embraces her femininity. It's not about superficial traits, nor is it about conforming to outdated gender roles. True femininity is an inner essence, a way of moving through the world with grace, warmth, and a quiet confidence that draws people in without force. It's the kind of presence that softens a man's guard, makes him feel at ease, and awakens something primal within him. A woman who understands and embodies her femininity creates an atmosphere that is both inviting and captivating. There's a flow to the way she carries herself, an elegance in her movements, a thoughtfulness in her words, and a deep emotional intelligence that allows her to navigate situations with understanding rather than aggression. This doesn't mean she lacks strength. On the contrary, femininity and strength are not opposing forces. They coexist. A woman who is truly feminine is powerful, not because she dominates, but because she influences without needing to control. Men are instinctively drawn to this energy. It's a stark contrast to the harshness of the world, the constant battles and pressures that they face daily. When a woman operates from a place of femininity, she offers something rare, a space where a man can feel both challenged and at peace. She doesn't compete with him, she complements him. She doesn't try to prove her worth through force. She expresses it naturally through her presence, her kindness, and her ability to bring a sense of harmony to any environment. One of the most alluring aspects of femininity is a woman's ability to be both soft and strong. She can express vulnerability without weakness, assertiveness without aggression, and kindness without naivety. She knows when to lean into her emotions and when to stand firm. This balance is what makes her unpredictable in the most fascinating way. Men remember women who make them feel something unique, something they can't quite explain. It's the warmth in her voice, the way she listens with full attention, the effortless way she makes a man feel like he is capable of more simply by being in her presence. This kind of woman doesn't have to demand attention, she commands it naturally. She creates an environment where admiration turns into obsession because her energy is rare, refreshing, and impossible to replicate. A man's attraction to a woman isn't just about how she looks or how she speaks, it's about how she responds to life. Emotional maturity is one of the most defining qualities that separates a woman who is merely interesting from one who is truly unforgettable. A woman who can regulate her emotions, handle conflict with grace, and navigate difficult situations with wisdom stands out in a way that is impossible to ignore. There's nothing more exhausting than dealing with someone who is emotionally chaotic. Someone who lashes out, plays mind games, or allows small inconveniences to turn into unnecessary battles. Immaturity is draining. It creates instability, forces people to walk on eggshells, and ultimately leads to resentment. A woman who has mastered her emotions, however, does the opposite. She creates a sense of stability. She doesn't allow external circumstances to dictate her inner state. This isn't about suppressing emotions. Emotional maturity doesn't mean being detached or robotic. It means having control over how emotions are expressed. A mature woman understands that emotions are valid, but reactions are a choice. Instead of immediately lashing out when something upsets her, she takes a step back. She thinks before she speaks. She communicates rather than accuses. She can handle difficult conversations without needing to manipulate or resort to emotional outbursts. A woman with emotional maturity also has the ability to take responsibility for her actions. She doesn't blame everyone else when things go wrong. She doesn't see herself as a victim in every situation. Instead, she reflects, learns, and grows. This kind of accountability is rare, and it's deeply attractive. It shows that she isn't just reacting to life, she's actively shaping it. Men are drawn to women who make them feel safe, not just physically, but emotionally. A man wants to know that when challenges arise, he has a partner who can face them with him, not someone who will make things worse through unnecessary drama. He wants someone who can bring solutions instead of problems, someone who can support rather than sabotage. Think about the most inspiring leaders, the people who leave lasting impressions. They aren't the ones who panic under pressure or lash out when things don't go their way. They are the ones who remain calm, collected, and solution-frequent. A woman who possesses this kind of emotional strength creates a deep sense of trust. A man knows that no matter what happens, she won't unravel. That certainty is what makes her irreplaceable. A relationship with a woman like this feels different. It's not filled with constant conflict, emotional roller coasters, or passive-aggressive games. It's grounded. It allows for real connection, real intimacy, and a depth that makes a man want to stay, invest, and give everything he has. Emotional maturity doesn't just attract, it captivates. It makes a man respect, admire, and most importantly, crave a woman's presence, because he knows that with her, he is not walking into chaos. He is stepping into something real, something stable, and something that adds to his life rather than depleting it. A woman who respects herself commands respect from everyone around her. There's no need for excessive demands, ultimatums, or manipulative tactics. Her presence alone communicates her worth. She carries herself in a way that shows she understands her value, and that, in turn, makes her incredibly desirable. Self-respect is evident in how a woman treats herself and what she allows from others. It's in the way she walks away from disrespect without hesitation, in the way she refuses to settle for treatment that doesn't align with her standards. She isn't desperate for validation, and she doesn't beg for attention. She knows that real admiration isn't forced, it's earned. A woman with self-respect isn't cold or unapproachable, but she is discerning. She doesn't entertain situations that drain her energy or people who diminish her spirit. She doesn't chase after someone who clearly isn't invested. This isn't out of arrogance. It's out of an understanding that her time, energy, and emotions are valuable. Think about how people respond to those who set boundaries. There's an immediate shift in perception. When someone allows themselves to be walked over, they become easy to overlook. But when a woman establishes clear expectations for how she should be treated, it forces others to rise to that level. A man who sees a woman holding herself to high standards can't help but be intrigued. He knows she won't tolerate anything less than what she deserves, and that makes her different from the rest. Self-respect also translates into the choices a woman makes for herself. It's in the way she invests in her own growth. the way she prioritizes her well-being, the way she refuses to shrink herself for anyone else's comfort. She doesn't mold her personality to fit someone's preferences, nor does she compromise her values just to keep someone around. Men are wired to pursue, to work for something they find valuable. A woman who has self-respect doesn't make it easy in a way that devalues her. She makes it worth it. She isn't playing games, but she isn't handing over her energy to just anyone either. She creates an environment where a man has to step up to be in her life. And that dynamic, one where she sets the bar high and stands by it, is incredibly addictive. There's a reason why men remember the women who had strong boundaries. Those are the women who didn't just let them get away with anything. Those are the women who challenged them to be better, who made them work for their attention, who didn't hand over their time freely to someone who hadn't proven themselves worthy of it. A woman who respects herself makes a man obsessed because she's rare. She's not easily won over, and she's not available to just anyone. She creates a sense of exclusivity, not by playing hard to get, but by genuinely valuing herself in a way that makes others do the same. While depth, intelligence, and strength are incredibly attractive, there is something equally magnetic about a woman who knows how to have fun. A woman who can bring laughter into a man's life, who can be playful, unpredictable, and spontaneous, creates an energy that is impossible to resist. Life is already filled with enough stress, enough responsibilities, enough moments that feel heavy. A woman who can bring lightness into a relationship is someone a man craves being around. She reminds him not to take everything so seriously, to enjoy the present moment, to embrace joy without hesitation. Playfulness doesn't mean immaturity. It doesn't mean avoiding difficult conversations or lacking depth. It means knowing when to step out of the serious side of life and just enjoy the simple things. It's in the way she teases him, the way she can joke around without being cruel, the way she finds humor in situations that others might find frustrating. This kind of energy is contagious. Think about the people in your life who make you laugh effortlessly, the ones who can turn an ordinary moment into something memorable. Those are the people you want to be around, the ones who leave a lasting impact. The same applies to attraction. A woman who brings joy into a man's life becomes someone he wants to keep close, not just because he enjoys her company, but because she makes life feel better. Playfulness also builds chemistry. It creates an unspoken bond, a connection that doesn't rely solely on deep conversations or shared values, but on the ability to enjoy one another's presence. A woman who can playfully challenge a man, who can engage in witty banter, who isn't afraid to be a little mischievous, keeps him on his toes in the best way. There's also an element of unpredictability in playfulness. A woman who knows how to keep things fun isn't stuck in rigid patterns. She isn't predictable in a way that makes things boring. She can surprise a man, catch him off guard in ways that make him laugh, intrigue him, and make him want more. This isn't about forcing humor or trying too hard to be entertaining. True playfulness comes naturally when a woman is comfortable in her own skin, when she isn't burdened by the need to appear perfect or overly composed all the time. She can let go, be silly, be expressive, and enjoy life without fear of judgment. Think about how relationships evolve over time. The ones that last aren't just built on attraction and compatibility. They're built on shared experiences of joy. Couples who laugh together, who don't take everything so seriously, who can find humor in even the mundane parts of life, create a bond that is hard to break. A man becomes obsessed with a woman who makes his life lighter, who brings an element of fun that he can't find anywhere else. She becomes a source of comfort, of excitement, of a kind of happiness that he looks forward to experiencing again and again. A woman who possesses emotional maturity creates a level of stability that is deeply attractive. She doesn't let fleeting emotions dictate her actions, nor does she allow impulsive reactions to control her relationships. She understands herself, processes her feelings intelligently, and communicates with clarity rather than chaos. Emotional maturity means handling conflicts with composure. Instead of resorting to passive-aggressive behavior, silent treatments, or emotional outbursts, she approaches disagreements with a mindset of resolution. She listens before she speaks, takes accountability where necessary, and expects the same level of responsibility from those around her. This kind of self-awareness fosters a deep sense of trust, making her presence feel safe and reliable. Think about how rare it is to encounter someone who can handle difficult situations without being consumed by them. The ability to remain calm under pressure, to express feelings without manipulation, to face challenges with a problem-solving mindset. These qualities make a woman stand out. She doesn't engage in unnecessary drama, doesn't create conflict for attention, and doesn't allow emotions to override reason. A woman with emotional maturity also understands the difference between needs and expectations. She doesn't place unrealistic burdens on others to make her happy because she takes responsibility for her own emotional well-being. She doesn't demand constant reassurance or validation to feel secure. She appreciates affection, but doesn't rely on it as her sole source of confidence. Men are drawn to women who bring peace, not turmoil. A woman who remains composed even in difficult moments creates an environment that allows a man to be his best self. She doesn't add unnecessary stress or confusion to his life. Instead, she encourages emotional growth, helping both herself and her partner evolve into better versions of themselves. A real emotional maturity also comes with a sense of self-control. A woman who doesn't lash out in anger, but instead takes a step back to assess the situation objectively, becomes someone a man can deeply respect. Respect is the foundation of lasting attraction. When a man sees a woman handle challenges with grace, he knows she possesses a strength that few others do. This kind of maturity also reflects in how she treats others. She doesn't gossip about people behind their backs, doesn't belittle others to feel superior, and doesn't let petty jealousy consume her. She's secure enough in herself to celebrate other people's successes and remain unbothered by meaningless competition. This makes her magnetic, someone others want to be around, not just because of how she looks or what she has, but because of the peace she carries within her. A man becomes obsessed with a woman who is emotionally mature because she represents something rare. She's not swayed by every minor inconvenience, doesn't create unnecessary problems, and brings a level of depth that challenges and inspires. She's not just a partner, she's a source of wisdom, balance, and emotional intelligence. A woman who supports a man's vision and growth becomes irreplaceable. She isn't threatened by his ambitions, she encourages them. She doesn't undermine his goals, she helps him reach them. She understands that real connection isn't about competition, but about collaboration, about pushing each other to become the best versions of themselves. Supportiveness isn't about blind agreement or ignoring flaws, it's about recognizing potential and nurturing it. A supportive woman challenges a man to rise higher, not by force, but by belief. When a man feels truly supported, he finds himself capable of things he never thought possible. He takes risks he would have hesitated to take alone. He grows into someone stronger because he knows he has someone by his side who sees his greatness even when he can't. Support is felt in small, everyday actions. It's in the way she listens when he speaks, the way she encourages his ideas instead of shutting them down. It's in the way she believes in his vision when the world doubts him, the way she reminds him of his capabilities when he's struggling with self-doubt. This quality doesn't mean a woman loses herself in someone else's life. A supportive woman isn't someone who abandons her own dreams to prop up another person's. She has her own ambitions, her own identity, her own sense of purpose. But within that, she understands that relationships flourish when both people uplift each other rather than hold each other back. Men are often faced with external pressures, societal expectations, financial burdens, personal struggles. A woman who offers encouragement instead of criticism, who provides a safe space rather than adding to the weight of the world, becomes someone he never wants to let go of. Think about how powerful it is to have someone who believes in you even when you're at your lowest. A woman who can stand beside a man through difficulties, who doesn't run at the first sign of struggle, who helps him push through challenges, becomes the kind of woman a man is obsessed with. She's not just there for the good times, she's there when things are hard, and that kind of loyalty is unforgettable. A supportive woman also knows the difference between guiding and controlling. She doesn't try to reshape a man into her ideal version of him. She doesn't impose her expectations in a way that stifles his growth. Instead, she gives space for him to evolve naturally, offering encouragement along the way rather than rigid direction. Men are drawn to women who make them feel capable. A man who feels like he has to constantly fight for approval or prove his worth will eventually seek out an environment where he feels understood. A woman who sees his efforts, acknowledges his struggles, and still believes in him provides something that's increasingly rare: genuine partnership. There's a reason why the most powerful men in history had strong, supportive women by their side. They weren't passive, they weren't submissive, and they weren't unopinionated. They were partners in the truest sense. Women who challenged, inspired, and uplifted. A man becomes obsessed with a woman who offers that kind of support because it isn't easy to find. When he does, he knows he's found something truly valuable. If you want to know the qualities that make a man obsessed, they aren't found in just external beauty or momentary excitement. They are found in depth, in authenticity, in strength wrapped in grace. And here's the thing, none of these qualities can be faked. They have to be developed. Because when a woman embodies these traits, she doesn't have to chase love. She becomes the kind of woman a man never forgets. The question is, are you becoming that woman?